October 2024. 23andMe, the company that convinced millions of people to mail in their DNA, filed for bankruptcy. Not just financial bankruptcy, strategic bankruptcy. The entire board of directors resigned. The CEO scrambled to take the company private. The stock price dropped from $321 per share at peak to under $1. And 15 million people's genetic data sits in limbo. Their DNA, their ancestry, their health risks, their relatives' information forever. Because here's the thing about genetic data. You can cancel your Netflix subscription. You can delete your Facebook account. You can close your bank account and open a new one. But you can't change your DNA. Once 23andMe has it, they have it forever. And when the company that holds your genetic information goes bankrupt, who owns your genome then? I'm Tony, and this is the Breakdown Economy, where we examine failures to reveal the patterns that matter. Today, how 23andMe proved that your data isn't the product, it's the liability. And why business models built on collecting irreversible information are fundamentally unsustainable. To understand how 23andMe failed, you need to understand what they were at their peak. 23andMe wasn't just a genetics company. They were a cultural phenomenon. Founded in 2006 by Anne Wojcicki, ex-wife of Google co-founder Sergey Brin and Linda Avey, the pitch was revolutionary. For 99, we'll tell you where your ancestors came from, what health conditions you're predisposed to, who your genetic relatives are, traits you carry in your DNA. This was personal genomics for everyone. Before 23andMe, getting your genome sequenced cost thousands of dollars and required a doctor's order. After 23andMe, spit in a tube, mail it in, wait 6 weeks, and it worked. Peak metrics: 14 million customers. As of 2023, $6 billion valuation at SPAC IPO, 2021. Stock price, $17.65 at IPO. One of Time Magazine's Inventions of the Year, 2008. Oprah's Favorite Things list. The emotional appeal was powerful. Ancestry discovery. I always thought I was Irish. Turns out I'm 23% Scandinavian. Family reunions with unknown relatives. Connecting adopted children with biological families. Health insights. I carry the BRCA gene. I need preventive screening. Pharmacogenomics. Which medications work for your genetics. Disease risk assessment. People discovered siblings they never knew existed. Adoptees found biological parents. Families learned about hereditary health risks. This felt like magic. But underneath the heartwarming commercials and Ancestry reveals, 23andMe had a fundamental problem. The business model didn't work. Let's break down how 23andMe made money, or tried to. Revenue stream number 1, DNA test kit sales. Sell kit for $99,199. Cost to process, $50.75. Gross margin, $25,125 per kit. Sounds good, right? Except this is a one. By 2023, they'd saturated the willing market. People who wanted DNA testing had mostly already done it, so they tried other revenue streams. Revenue stream number 2, subscription services, $9.99 a month for premium Ancestry features, access to detailed reports, new trait analysis as science evolves. Problem: why pay monthly for information that doesn't change? Most customers got their results and canceled immediately. Revenue stream number 3, therapeutics, drug development. This was the big bet. The pitch to investors: we have genetic data from millions of people. We can identify disease-causing genes faster than anyone. We'll develop drugs. That's where the real money is. 2018, $300 million partnership with GlaxoSmithKline. 23andMe would provide genetic data. GSK would develop drugs. Profits would be shared. Here's what that actually meant. Your DNA data that you gave them for Ancestry insights was now being sold to pharmaceutical companies for drug development. Many customers didn't realize this, or didn't understand what they'd consented to. Revenue stream number 4, data licensing, selling aggregated, anonymized genetic data to research institutions, pharmaceutical companies, academic researchers. This was supposed to be the sustainable revenue model. Collect DNA once, monetize the data forever. But there were two problems with this plan. All right, let's break down why 23andMe's business model was fundamentally unsustainable from day one. Problem number one, data doesn't appreciate, it depreciates. 23andMe's bet was genetic data becomes more valuable over time as science advances. What they expected. Year 1, data worth X. Year 5, data worth 5X, science advances, more insights. Year 10, data worth 20X, breakthrough discoveries. What actually happened? Year 1, data worth X. Year 5, competitors also have millions of samples. Year 10, data is commoditized, competition emerged. Ancestry.com, 20+ million users. MyHeritage DNA, Family Tree DNA, multiple research biobanks. UK Biobank, 500,000 participants, free. Suddenly, 23andMe's 14 million genetic samples weren't unique. Pharmaceutical companies could license data from multiple sources, often cheaper, sometimes free. And public research databases started offering genetic data for free to researchers. NIH All of Us program, 1 million+ participants, publicly available. Why pay 23andMe for data you can get elsewhere for less or free? Problem number two, genetic data is a wasting asset. Traditional data, behavior changes, valuable to track. Preferences evolve, need fresh data. Usage patterns shift, continuous value. Genetic data doesn't change. One sample, lifetime data. No need to recollect. Once they had your DNA, they had all your DNA. No new purchases needed, no updated samples, nothing. The data they collected in 2010 from a customer was the exact same data they'd have in 2024. Now let's talk about the second fatal flaw. Genetic data isn't just an asset, it's a massive liability. October 2023, the data breach. 23andMe suffered a credential stuffing attack. Hackers gained access to 6.9 million user profiles. Data leaked. Ancestry information, DNA relatives data, geographic locations, family trees, in some cases, health predisposition data. Now here's where genetic data is uniquely dangerous. Traditional data breach, credit card stolen, get new card, password leaked, change password, email compromised, create new email, recoverable damage. Genetic data breach, DNA leaked, can't change your DNA, family tree exposed, can't change your relatives, health risks revealed, can't unreveal them, irreversible damage, and it gets worse. Your genetic data reveals information about your relatives who never consented. If your DNA is in 23andMe's database, they can infer information about your parents, siblings, children, cousins who never took the test, who never agreed, who have no control. This is how they caught the Golden State Killer. A distant relative uploaded DNA to a public database. Investigators used genetic genealogy to narrow suspects, matched to the killer. Justice served, right? But it also proved one person's DNA can expose entire families. And when that data is held by a bankrupt company with unclear ownership, who decides how it's used? Problem number 3, the therapeutics bet failed. Remember the big bet? Use genetic data to develop blockbuster drugs? It didn't work. 2018, GSK partnership announced $300 million deal. 2020, 23andMe Therapeutics division created 2023. GSK partnership terminated 2024. Therapeutics division shut down, 40% of staff laid off. Why drug development didn't save them? Reason, number 1, timeline mismatch. Consumer DNA testing. Immediate gratification, 6 weeks. Drug development, 10-15-year process, billions in costs. Investors wanted returns now, not in a decade. Reason number 2, the data wasn't as valuable as claimed. Having genetic data is necessary but not sufficient for drug development. You also need clinical trials, expensive, time-consuming. Regulatory approval, FDA, multi-year process. Manufacturing capabilities, billions in infrastructure. Distribution networks, 23andMe, had none of this. Reason number 3, expertise mismatch. They were good at consumer marketing, DNA sequencing, logistics, ancestry analysis. They were not good at drug development, clinical trials, pharmaceutical regulation. Turns out being good at getting people to spit in tubes doesn't make you good at developing drugs. Therapeutics division result. Billions invested. 0 drugs approved. Division shut down. Partnership terminated. The big monetization bet failed. The collapse. So, by 2024, 23andMe had saturated market, growth stalled, one-time purchase model, no recurring revenue. Failed therapeutics bet, billions wasted, data breach, massive liability, commoditized data, competitors everywhere, subscription churn, no one wanted to pay monthly. The death spiral, 2021, goes public via SPAC at 3.5B valuation. Stock price, 17.65, 2022, revenue declining, losses mounting. Stock price, 350, down 80%, 2023. Data breach, mass layoffs, 200 plus employees. Stock price, $1 in 2024. Entire board resigns, all independent directors quit. Stock delisting warning, below $1 share. CEO Ann Wojcicki tries to take company private. Bankruptcy rumors. Stock price, 0.37. October 2024, effective bankruptcy. Not formal. Chapter 11, yet, but. Board resignation. No clear path to profitability. Desperate privatization attempt. Single-digit cent stock price. And 15 million people's genetic data is caught in the middle. What happens to it now? So, 23andMe is failing. That's one company. But why does this matter beyond consumer genetics? Because 23andMe demonstrated 3 patterns about data-driven business models that apply everywhere. Pattern number 1. Your data is their liability. We've been told for years, data is the new oil. Companies should collect as much data as possible, monetize it, build moats with it. 23andMe proved data is the new toxic waste. Traditional assets, cash, always valuable. Real estate appreciates, equipment depreciates predictably. You want more data, assets, storage costs, ongoing expense, security costs, escalating, threats increase, regulatory compliance, increasing, GDPR, CCPA, etc. Breach liability, potentially catastrophic. More data, more risk. For 23andMe, data storage costs, 5-10 million a year, 15 MAM genetic profiles plus backups. Security costs, 10-15 million a year, SOC2, penetration testing, encryption. Regulatory compliance, 5 million a year, HIPAA, if health data, GDPR for EU users. Breach liability, $30+ million. October 2023, breach settlements ongoing. Total data liability, $50-60 million per year. Data revenue, $30-40 million per year from licensing subscriptions. The data costs more to secure than it generates in revenue. This pattern is everywhere. Equifax breach 2017. 147 million records exposed. Settlement, $700 million. Data collection. Asset. Data breach, liability that exceeded lifetime value. Capital One breach, 2019. 100 million records exposed. Settlement, $190 million. Cost of securing data. Exceeded value. Facebook Cambridge Analytica. Data misuse scandal. $5 billion FTC fine. Regulatory liability. Exceeded data value. The pattern. Companies collect data assuming it's an asset, but data requires perpetual security, cost compound, regulatory compliance, requirements increase, breach liability, exposure is unlimited. For many companies, data becomes a liability that exceeds its value, especially irreversible data like genetics, biometrics, health records. You can't uncollect it. You can't delete it safely. You own the risk forever. Pattern number 2. One-time collection, infinite responsibility. 23andMe collected your DNA once, but they're responsible for protecting it forever. Think about that economics. Year 1. Collect $99 from customer. Sequence DNA. Provide results. Revenue, 99. Cost, 75. Profit, $24 year 2010. No new revenue from this customer. Still storing their DNA data. Still responsible for securing it. Still liable if breached. Revenue, $0. Cost, 5-year. Cumulative loss, year 11. Forever, same as year 2, 10. Infinite liability, 0 revenue. This is an unsustainable model for any data business. One-time payment, perpetual responsibility. Similar problems, Ancestry.com. Same one-time DNA test model, same perpetual storage liability. Similar struggle to monetize long-term health wearables, Fitbit, etc. Collect biometric data continuously, responsible for securing forever. If company fails, what happens to health data? Smart home devices. Collect usage, video, audio data. If company shuts down, who owns the data? The lesson. If you can't monetize data on a recurring basis, you can't afford to keep it secure long-term. One-time payment plus perpetual liability. Eventual bankruptcy. Pattern number 3. Data you can't delete is a ticking time bomb. Here's the unique danger of genetic data. You can't change it. If Netflix gets breached, your viewing history leaks. Embarrassing? Maybe. Fixable? Yes. Cancel account. Move on. If your bank gets breached, your account number leaks. Problematic? Yes. Fixable? Yes. New account, new number. If 23andMe gets breached, your DNA leaks. Can you get new DNA? No. This applies to any irreversible data, irreversible data types, genetic information, DNA, biometric data, fingerprints, facial structure, iris patterns, medical history, you can't diagnose, family relationships, can't change relatives. Once this data is collected, the risk is permanent. And if the company holding it fails, goes bankrupt, gets acquired. Who owns your genome then? 23andMe bankruptcy scenario. What could happen? 1. Company files. Chapter 11. 2. Assets go to highest bidder. 3. Assets include 15 million genetic profiles. 4. Buyer could be O. Another genetics company, best case. O. Data broker, worst case. O. Insurance company, nightmare case. O. Foreign entity, terrifying case. Your consent to 23andMe doesn't transfer to whoever buys them, but your DNA does, and there's no precedent for what happens to genetic data in bankruptcy. We're about to find out. All right, so what do you actually do with this information? Whether you've already taken a DNA test or you're considering it, here's what matters. If you've already used 23andMe, first, understand you can't undo it. Your DNA is in their database. That's permanent. What you can do: download your raw data while you still can. Log into 23andMe. Download complete genetic data file. Store it locally. Encrypted drive. You own a copy in case the company fails. Delete your account. Limited effectiveness. Request account deletion under GDPR, CCPA. They must remove personal identifiers. But genetic data may remain in anonymized research databases. Deletion is not guaranteed to be complete. Opt out of research, if you haven't already. Revoke consent for data sharing. Stop future use. Doesn't affect past use. Monitor for breach notifications. Watch email for security notices. Check haveibeenpooned.com periodically. Assume your data may eventually leak. What you cannot do: unshare your DNA. Prevent future breaches. Control who buys the company in bankruptcy. Change what you've already consented to. The horse is out of the barn. You can't get it back. Buyer could be, O. Another genetics company, best case. O. Data broker, worst case. O. Insurance company, nightmare case. O. Foreign entity, terrifying case. Your consent to 23andMe doesn't transfer to whoever buys them, but your DNA does. And there's no precedent for what happens to genetic data in bankruptcy. We're about to find out. All right, so what do you actually do with this information? Whether you've already taken a DNA test or you're considering it, here's what matters. If you're considering a DNA test, second, understand what you're actually agreeing to. Questions to ask before spitting in the tube. Privacy questions. Where will my data be stored? Who has access to it? Will it be shared with third parties? What happens if the company is sold? Can I delete it later? Spoiler: probably not fully. Business model questions. How does this company make money? Are they selling my data to pharmaceutical companies? Do they have recurring revenue, or is this one time? If one time, how do they afford perpetual security? Bankruptcy questions. What happens to my DNA if they go bankrupt? Who owns it then? Is there any legal protection? If you can't get clear answers to these questions, don't take the test. The trade-off: what you get. Ancestry insights. Interesting, not life-changing for most. Health risk information. Useful for some conditions. Relative matching. Valuable for adoptees, genealogy enthusiasts. What you give up. Permanent genetic privacy. Control over who accesses your DNA. Control over your relatives' privacy. Any protection if company fails. For some people, this trade is worth it. Adoptees searching for biological family. People with strong family history of genetic disease. Those pursuing serious genealogical research. For most people, the value doesn't justify the permanent privacy loss. Third, learn from 23andMe's model failure. Warning signs: your data business is unsustainable. One-time collection, perpetual responsibility. Charging once for lifetime data storage. No recurring revenue to fund ongoing security. Costs compound. Revenue doesn't. Data costs more to secure than it generates. Storage, security, compliance costs. Revenue. Each breach increases costs. Security, legal, PR. Liability exceeds asset value. Collecting irreversible data. Biometrics, genetics, health records, can't delete safely, can't change. Infinite liability, finite revenue. Betting on future monetization. Will collect now, monetize later. Works for behavior data, changes over time. Fails for static data, genetics, biometrics. A sustainable data business model requires recurring revenue, subscriptions, not one time. Depreciating data becomes less valuable. Clear monetization, not we'll figure it out later. Security costs revenue, sustainable economics. If you can't check all four, you're building a liability, not an asset. You on camera. Final thoughts, direct address. Let's talk about where 23andMe stands today. As of late 2024, stock trading under $0.50 was $17.65 at IPO. Entire board of directors resigned. CEO attempting to take company private. 15 million genetic profiles in limbo. No clear path to profitability. Bankruptcy likely, formal or functional. And the question everyone's asking: what happens to my DNA? We don't know. Possible outcomes: best case, another genetics company buys them, commits to same privacy terms, customers maintain some control. Likely case, assets sold to highest bidder in bankruptcy, data goes to data broker or insurance company, original privacy promises void. Worst case, multiple buyers for different asset pieces, genetic database sold separately from brand, foreign buyer with no U.S. legal obligations, complete loss of customer control. Here's what 23andMe's collapse teaches us about the data economy. Data is not the new oil. Oil appreciates in value. Data depreciates or becomes a liability. Oil can be refined and sold repeatedly. Data is collected once, secured forever. Oil storage costs are predictable. Data security costs compound infinitely. Data is the new toxic waste. Expensive to store. Dangerous if leaked. Impossible to fully dispose of. And when the company collecting it fails, someone has to deal with the contamination. 23andMe convinced 15 million people to give them the most personal data imaginable. Their genetic code. in exchange for $99 and some Ancestry insights. The insights were temporary. The data is forever. And now that data is in bankruptcy limbo, with no clear owner, no clear protections, and no precedent for what happens next, this is the breakdown economy. I'm Tony. Next week, Boeing's door plug incident. How 2 decades of cost-cutting and culture change created systematic quality failures that literally fell from the sky. Subscribe to see the next breakdown before it happens. And if you've given your DNA to any company, download your raw data now, before you can't. I'll see you next Thursday.